and there's a ton in Australia, and there's a ton in America. But the reason they did that, the reason they subdivided, was that they didn't want all whites checking off the box. And I thought that was funny, why the United Kingdom didn't want that. Well, one, they thought it was fanciful because it was not as good as divide or rule. But what they were worried about was Irish nationalism, because of how big they are. You're not dealing with a small group anymore. I suggest you look at those numbers. And they go we ourselves very quickly. They went we ourselves before the founding fathers said we the people are for us and our posterity. That's old. That's ancient to them. They do that naturally. It blew people's minds when they crossed over and voted for Ronald Reagan. They don't care. They will go national. And the funny thing about this, I always rip on nationalists, but the funny thing is, at 10% of the bus, I wasn't seeing the obvious, at one time. At 10% of the bus, British National Party, Hungarian National Party, Russian nationalists, it all becomes racial. There's no such thing as nationalism. It's all white. In other words, as soon as what they were afraid of is the obvious. The dominant group to go nationalism is going to be like an electrical current. In other words, you're on the bus in the ghetto, you're at 10%, we're on this side of the bus in America. The Russians have done more for the European bus, the Russian nationalists, than anything in the history of Europe. I mean, they just electrified the place because it's infectious. And it's inevitably racial. You can say culture all you want. It's inevitably racial. So what we want is we want a group to do that on our side of the bus. We're over here in Anglosphere. We want a group to do that. There's an obvious group that can do it. They already do it. And they'll naturally do it. They brought Ronald Reagan into power in many different areas. I don't think they brought him to power exclusively. I wouldn't say the whole entire election rests on the Irish, although Bob may disagree with me. Bob could write a book about that coalition. But you don't have to do any voting to take back the Republican Party. You just have to exercise power. But what they're gearing up for, the neocons are gearing up for a fight in the South. I would give it to them. I would then backdoor them. I would then backdoor them through the ethnic bloc, the dominant ethnic bloc. I would also backdoor them, backdoor the neocons' major benefactors, the Goldman Sachs. Well, there's another faction, the J.P. Morgan Chase, and they're not necessarily Jewish. I would try to backdoor them there. The ideal, you have interesting enough, the groups like the Russians want to work with some elements of the Republican Party. Neocons can't allow that. I would backdoor them in international relations. I would kill them time and time again. It doesn't matter. Their major weapon is money and foreign relations. I can kill them there. I've laid it out. Bob can do it time and time again, much better than even I can. I'm not an expert on the Republican Party, but I would put together a Cayenne Pokemon. I would present a front. It wouldn't necessarily be a false front, but I would give them a fight, and I would backdoor them and get them out of there. I don't know exactly how, but a problem well stated is half solved. You must come back to we the people. The easiest way to come back to we the people is to get a bunch of nationalists on the bus electrifying the place. The easiest way to do that is take your most nationalist feared group and let them do what they do. I was notified that there's a group that's become very, very popular in Western civilization. It's never been talked about in Stormfront, to my knowledge. We've never talked about it on Whitaker Online. It's called the Dropkick Murphys. Dropkick is just like D-R-O-P, Kick Murphys, M-U-R-P-H-Y-S. They're an Irish band. They sing old Irish tunes, but with kind of like a rock thing. And their concerts have become a huge cult feature for white kids. And middle age. You have some older Irish guys there, older whatever. They're huge in the South. They're huge in all these different places. But they're a white working class man. That's what they build themselves as. They're not white nationalists. They're not any type of nationalists. They're just Irish. You understand my point? I suggest you look them up. You don't believe me? Go to one of their concerts. Look around. There's a current there. That type of current brought Ronald Reagan into office. They can vote as an ethnic bloc, and they can exercise power as an ethnic bloc very quickly. We don't need anyone to vote. We just need to take back the Republican Party. And you have a handful of Lone Rangers. They're being nudged. They're under full pressure. They're under pressure, and at any given time, California could blow up, and that's unsustainable. It would be to the elite's advantage to have a racial agenda behind the Republican Party, even to triangulate off of. Now, What does it mean by triangulate? Well, some of the Democrats may want it to triangulate off of it. They can't put out the message, but they may want a good group of, they may want someone like Bob putting out a message. Why? Because they think they can triangulate off of that. What's funny is this may work the same way. You know, the Republicans in my lifetime has always tried to triangulate the anti-racist message to get the Latino or African votes. It's never once worked because you can't triangulate that. Yeah, that's always going to go the Democrats' way. When it comes to racial politics, they would never be able to triangulate off something like Simmons. It just ain't going to work because the votes are always going to come his way. In other words, and once you get in there, it's pretty much over with. You could do anything you want to do. Basically, you don't necessarily have to win an election because it's such a huge power block you'd put together overnight. Even, by the way, even if Ronald Reagan didn't win the election, he did. But even if he didn't, you most likely would have caused that huge Republican seizure of the Congress and the Senate later on, because it was such a huge block. But these are just some ideals in the head for taking back, for grabbing that bird in the hand. You know, you got a bird right in your hand that won't fly for us simply because the neocons and the Lone Rangers hold them down. The neocons can't see anything. Believe it or not, they can't. They're ready for a fight in the South. That's the only thing they can see. Lone Ranger can't exist. And sooner or later, Tontos start killing each other. It's impossible to exist then. It could be to an elite's advantage to have racialists in there, whether it be to deal with the Russians on a straight-up level, whether it be to deal with money, whether it be to get the neocons out of the way. But this threefold strategy of some money elites, old money elites, whether it be the J.P. Morgan Chase Republicans, whatever, non-neocons, anything not neocon is okay. Even looking at the people that put out the message for the Republicans, the people that say off the wall stuff, Ann Coulter, I don't know a lot about her. Maybe many of you don't like her. I don't know, but I know this: certain parties have posted on Bugs every time she has posted, not quite mantra type thinking, but as close as any other Republican. But I've told you before, white women can do that. But the big key would be getting back to we the people, we ourselves, as the Irish say, for us and our posterity, and getting on a consistent message. And that message we have the message to help them get into power, help them win whatever they want. I mean, they have a super majority if they want it, but they have to be in a position. All you got to do is choose to exercise power. And there are many ways to go that. You need that current running. Well, there's an electrical current among what I would call the Irish. It's not bad for anybody any more than Russian nationalism. Why? Because it's not the 1800s, it's not the 1900s, it's 2009. At 10% of the bus, if someone jumps on your side of the bus, if some little Russian skinhead jumps on your side of your bus and starts throwing everyone off that they don't like, well then all the other guys scratch their heads and say, oh, we forgot we could do that. That's what's happened in Europe. That's how that current works. We got to get that current flowing. But it starts with the message. We have the message. We just got to get it out there. They want the message. Most of the Republicans want the message. It just hasn't been articulated to them. It's going to take more than one person. I would put together probably 3 fronts. I would maybe put together what I call the Rebel Hall push. I would have a couple different meetings of certain operatives, and maybe Bob knows who they are in the South. I would then have a handful of meetings with certain like-minded operatives in the that Bob would certainly know, whether it be Reagan Democrats or whatever, in the different Republican factions in the Midwest and even maybe out west, like-minded individuals. I would try to get them on a consistent, singing a song. We need a chorus going. You need more than one person. I don't think one person standing up because of demoralization, because the Republicans, the neocons have done a brilliant job of shutting down singular people. Not that they can hold it back forever. They can't hold back a dominant personality. They certainly can't hold back a dominant personality when you have a chorus going on among the structural points across the Republican Party. But those are 3 key sectors in my opinion. The Irish, because they already said we ourselves, they've said it for hundreds of years, and they'll go, according to our enemies, they're worried about them going more racial and nationalistic and taking down Anglosphere more than anyone. That's wonderful. They definitely helped Ronald Reagan get elected. They did what no one thought. They voted their ethnic interest economically, regardless of what anyone thinks. They don't care. They don't care what you think. If it comes down to red-haired children going extinct and it gets articulated to them, they will burn everything. They don't care. They think in those terms. They're way more nationalist naturally than any other group in Western civilization. Our enemy knows that. Even Hebrew elites have talked about, Jewish elites have talked about partnering with the Irish.